This is a joint committee of the Banking and Currency and that of Finance of the House of Representatives. The members are here sequel to a resolution of the House to block all leakages of revenue in the economy so as to have enough financial resources to fund the 2020 budget and beyond. The Joint Committee is, however, worried that over $30 billion is lost yearly as a result of these leakages from bank transactions involving oil companies, banks, and MDAs.
We will pursue sundry tax reform measures, particularly policy and regulatory guidelines, including streamlining of the hitherto complex and multi-layer system with a view to broadening the scope of the country's sources of tax revenue. It is imperative to note that Nigeria has to raise tax revenue and ensure its judicious utilization for accelerated development. This cannot be overemphasized. It is on this background that we move this motion because of our genuine desire and stronger commitment to see that funds are available to finance appropriation acts passed by the National Assembly. It is noted that year in, year out, over $20 billion are leaked or refused to be paid by participants in the business sector. It is also a greater belief that the present financial predicament Nigeria finds herself can safely be avoided only if participants in the Nigerian social economic contracts conduct businesses according to the dictates of the rule of law. The revenue leakage of amounting to over $30 billion that we have evidence to, is, if effectively and efficiently blocked and recovered, will bring funds enough to finance our national and state budgets without recourse to external or even domestic borrowing.
In his welcome address, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Gbaja was not particularly pleased with the turnout by some invited banks to the hearing. He, however, reiterated that the National Assembly action to invite persons or organizations is backed by Section 88 and 89 of the Constitution and will not hesitate to issue a bench warrant on erring banks who fail to honor the invitation.
Let me read again, for the benefit of doubt, the title or the subject matter of this investigative hearing. And I'll read the relevant portion. And it is to identify and plug revenue leakages that cost the federal government of Nigeria in excess of 20 billion, and the key word here is per annum. Excess of 30 billion per annum. So in other words, what this House or this committee is trying to do is to plug what we've all been mouthing, leakages and revenues, to the tune of over 30 billion every single year. This investigation is not to witch hunt. It's not to declare anybody guilty of such. It is an investigation to find out what is going on and to plug those leakages. And it is an investigation, a journey that is embarked on by the constitutional powers derived under Section 88 and Section 89 of the Constitution. To investigate for the purposes of, for such purposes as leaking, plugging leakholes, efficiency, exposing corruption, if any. And that's why we're here today. That 4 of the banks who are supposed to be here are not here. Gives me great concern. But I want to make it clear that the House is not going to sit idly. We do not want to be forced to go to the full extent of the law. In this case, the Constitution. Today, our country is facing significant revenue challenges because of the global collapse in the price of crude oil, brought about by a severe and ongoing contraction in the global economy, and the consequent reduction in demand for fossil fuels. Here at home, we have not escaped the global economic downturn, which means that even local tax receipts are falling precipitously. The sum of all this is that we do not have the resources we need to deliver on our development ambitions and the infrastructure projects we have committed to. Under the circumstances, it is unconscionable that we are still losing vast sums of money to avoidable leakages in the system. The House of Representatives has resolved to identify the sources of these leakages and the systemic failures that have either created them or caused them to persist. We will follow on from that by taking necessary action to propose and implement solutions that will ensure our country no longer loses these huge sums that we desperately need to build infrastructure and support enterprise that creates jobs for our people. For this joint committee to deliver on the mandate of the House in this instance, there is a need to work with the ministries, departments, and agencies of government. This effort by the House is in fulfillment of our constitutional obligations, and we intend to act always with integrity and diligence in the best interest of our nation. I encourage our executive colleagues to see this as an opportunity for constructive collaboration in the national interest. Finally, I thank all of you who have taken the time to be here this morning, and I wish you all successful deliberations as I declare this hearing open to the glory of God and the service of our country. God bless you all, and God bless the Federal Republic.
3 banks eventually made appearances: Unity Bank, Stanbic IBTC, and UBA. While the UBA and Unity banks were given rescheduled dates to perfect their documents, it was not the same for Stanbic IBTC, who came with a purported court order barring it from disclosing its financial status to the committee.
My bank believes in due process, and we have a good history of cooperating with the legislature and other administrative panels of government. And we are fully committed to providing whatever information is required. So, our submission is broken down into a summary of the foreign exchange sales and purchases for the required period 2010 to 2019, as well as details of stamp duty and withholding tax and value-added tax. So the summary of the submission is that for the period 2010 to 2019, the total sum of purchases and sales of foreign exchange by our bank stood at $1.051.64 billion US.
There was a court order. There was a court order restraining us from submitting. There's a case in court currently, and the bank has written to notify this respectable committee about the development. The letter was submitted 30th June and 1st June to the chairman, House Committee on Finance and Banking, and the clerk of the House of Rep. We have a copy of that same letter with us. So that was why we've not been able to submit. The customer actually sued the bank.
Who's the customer?
Chief, I know Wally is there. His name is there as well.
On behalf of
the other customers as well.
He's suing on behalf of all customers.
Yes, representing the stake of other customers. He's suing the bank, the House Committee, together with the House of Rep.
So it's a class action. It's a class action.
Not the bank that went to court. It's the customer on behalf of the customer that went. So it's not us. We are not the one that went to court. So we've been engaging Mr. Lawali on the best way possible in terms of how to remit those things to them. Thank you.
The members of the committee did not agree with the view of Stanbic IBTC over the court judgment.
There was a recent court judgment about our former colleague who sued us about the bill we wanted to consider. And the court has made it explicitly clear they cannot interfere in the running of the House. And I think that maybe we brought it on Friday. our legal department should, of course, address that. What we are here to do is an investigative hearing and not in the running of your bank. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, the first thing we should have done is to put them on oath, because this is the business of the house, because anything they say after here, we should hold them responsible as well. Thank you.
You as an individual might wish to go to court, but you cannot prevent us from working, carrying out our duty as in the rule of separation of powers. We should be allowed to exist as much as you have your right to go to court. And that judgment says that you cannot say that something is wrong when it is not yet a law, meaning that you can't stop us from carrying on an investigation. You can only do that when we have concluded our legislative duty on that matter. So whatever is an area of concern has to wait until we are done with our investigative duty thereto. That's what the judgment says. It's a ruling of a court. Just last week, yes.
I put it to you that Chief Wale Taiwo is the lawyer of IBTC. I put it to you. Denied. I put it to you that Chief Wale Taiwo, SAN, is the lawyer of has always been the lawyer of IBTC. So it is IBTC that induced him to go on behalf of other customers. I put it to you.
The committee later adjourned, but with the warning that the Parliament will not hesitate to invoke its constitutional rights on any person or organization who take the Parliament for granted.
We are going to give you a template to use. We have our template 1, which covers the equity, the FDI, the money market, government security, treasury-based, loan stock, equipment, and others. We'll give it to you so that you compare like that. Then template 2 you have is your dividend repatriation, capital, principal loan repayment, and interest. Then your template 3 will show the CBN, invisible and SME, autonomous, interbank, companies, individuals, and MoneyGram. So that you take this and return it to us by Wednesday, so that we can take you. There's also a questionnaire we'll give to you to aid you to cover other areas. Because the one you submitted earlier, we are still finding it difficult to work with everything that we have seen there. So we'll give you these 2 forms. You'll go and give us a presentation in line with what we are giving to you now. You should get back to us by 3 p.m. on Wednesday. Then on Friday, you'll also be here.
I put it to you that Chief Wale Taiwo is the lawyer of IBTC. I put it to you. Denied. I put it to you that Chief Wale Taiwo, SAN, is the lawyer of has always been the lawyer of IBTC. So it is IBTC that induced him to go on behalf of other customers. I put it to you. Okay, I also want to make it clear, honorable colleagues, that by the time we finish with this investigation, my colleague had asked, Nigerians will see why IBTC went to court, because they have so many things to hide. As far as our records are concerned, we have things that we needed you to clarify, and we wrote you to clarify, submit documents for clarification. So if you don't submit, by the time we finish in court, I'm sure the government will be entitled to collect interest on all those outstandings, which we'll be asking for that the court to do. Thank you very much. You may take your leave. Thank you. We saw that it is one Chief Taiwo, SAN, that sued on behalf of other customers. I don't know whether that is normal, doing a class action. We also are aware that Chief Taiwo is the lawyer, because in all the audited reports of the bank that we have seen, he has always been the one signing off. So we know he's the lawyer of the bank. And I say it clearly, that by the time we finish the investigation, IBTC will tell Nigerians what they have to hide while they went to court. Because we will tell Nigerians what we know and what is in our papers. We are only asking IBTs to come out to submit documents to clarify so that we are not seen, I mean, we give fair hearing. We are not seen to be judgmental even before asking them. I think that's just the thing. So,
Emmanuel Unu, News 24 International.